My name is Liz Watt and I'm a registered dietitian at the UNC Wellness Centers. June is here and I want to talk to you a little bit about the MIND diet. Why do I want to talk about the MIND diet? Because June is National Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and we focus a lot of our attention on any kind of cognitive decline, any kind of dementia, anything that's going on with your brain. And we have some wonderful foods that we can eat on a regular basis that can actually help you to preserve a lot of that cognition and delay some of the cognitive decline that happens as we get older. So the MIND diet is a combination of the Mediterranean diet, which is very popular for heart health, as well as the DASH diet, which is dietary approaches to stop hypertension, which is high blood pressure. So what we have is taking these two diets, which are fairly similar, putting them together, and we found through research that it's really helpful with slowing slow down that cognitive decline. So what are some things you want to have on that diet? Berries. All fruits are good, berries are especially good. Things like dark green leafy vegetables, things like nuts, things like olive oil, all things that you would probably find in either one of those two diets. The reason why we have to use those two diets and combine them to make the MIND diet is because what's good for your heart is good for your brain. So a lot of these foods, like I mentioned, on those two diets are going to be helpful for both. One of my favorites is salmon. Pretty much almost every week we have Sunday night salmon. Love it. This is a recipe that's a little bit different. If you don't have a grill, or you don't feel like grilling, or don't want to get fresh salmon, you can use canned salmon, and we're going to make some salmon burgers, courtesy of Reed Drummond from from Food Network. So we have some canned salmon, and we have some seasonings. It's very similar to if you're going to make black bean burgers, or lentil burgers, or tuna patties. All very similar. So what are we going to do? We're going to take an egg and break that, put that in our bowl. We are then going to take some mayo, 2 tablespoons of mayo. My cat is very interested in the salmon. You can see her nose going, and she's checking things out of here. 2 kinds of mayo. We also want then to have some mustard. The recipe calls for whole grain stone ground mustard. I have Dijon in my house, so I'm going to use that. It's whatever kind that you like. Put those together, and a little bit of Old Bay. About a teaspoon. I'm going to go ahead and just shake. About a teaspoon of Old Bay. I have a fork. I'll just use a spoon. Mix that all together. You could use a little bit of hot sauce in there if you like some heat to your foods. I'm not so much into the heat, so I'm going to forego that. And then you have this little paste that we're going to use to hold it all together. The last thing we're going to add as far as the liquid part is going to be half of a lemon. I have my handy dandy lemon juicer. Stick that half in there and just give it a squeeze. And that gives some really lovely flavor. So like I said, here you got this paste that we're going to use. Now we're going to take scallions. I happen to have chives in my garden, so I'm going to use those, but they basically taste the same. You can use real onion if you want. You can use scallions. I find that if I just put them together and I cut them, that works easiest. So I'm just going to give some snips. I have some that I've already snipped ahead of time. She doesn't have to stand here and watch me just snip away at the green onions. All right, then we're going to fold in our salmon. I just have 2.5 cans. So here's what I say about that. 5-ounce cans is what I can find at any grocery store that I've been to. And the recipe calls for 2 6-ounce cans. I'm like, really? All right, so what did I do? I ended up draining 2 cans, and then I added about maybe a half of another can to give me about 2 6-ounce cans. So then I threw in the salmon and panko. Don't boil that in there. Then we're just going to mix it all together. All right. So it to where it's kind of like ground burger meat, or like I said, if you've done black bean burgers or tuna burgers, very similar. So there you go. So you have all your mixture all mixed together. Then I kind of just like space it out in my bowl, kind of mash it down so it's all somewhat equal. Cut that in half. Cut those halves in half. So it's kind of like you have 4 little quadrants there. And then I'm just gonna scoop up one of those quadrants. And it doesn't have to be pretty. I'm not dining with the queen, therefore it's just gonna be kind of a patty like so. You can make little sliders if you wanna make them smaller, or you can just make them like so. All right, I'm making 4 here. I have 4 people in my family, so that will work nicely. I do find that when I do anything that's kind of like a mixture like this, that you have to end up draining and add some little bit of fluid to them, that get a little bit hard to manage. They can fall apart a little bit, but I do find if I put it in the fridge for about 30 minutes before I cook them, that seems to help. Just help them to hold together a little bit. So I have a little bit of extra. I'm just gonna kind of add that to these. My other cat's interested in what's going on. All right, so here I have my 4 patties all pattied up. Stick them in the fridge for about 30 minutes, and then we're gonna take it over to the stove. So we're gonna stick them in my cast iron grill pan and cook them down. See you then. Alrighty, now we're over at the sink. I'm going to use my cast iron grill pan in order to cook these. You could use a regular skillet, you could use a regular cast iron skillet. You can even throw in the oven and bake them, any way you want to do it. Alright, so I'm going to add some oil, about a medium-high heat. Add a little bit of oil to the pan, get that nice and warm. And then I have my 4 patties, and we're just going to go ahead and very carefully place each one in the pan. I can hear it sizzling, so I know the pan is hot enough. This is something you could probably do on a grill outside as well, but you'd want to put it on some foil because you don't want the pieces to fall through the grates, obviously. All right, we're gonna let those cook for a minute or 2. The other thing I want to talk to you about with the Mind diet is, so I talked about the foods that you should have on a diet. I mentioned some of the fruits and the berries, dark green leafy vegetables, nuts, olive oil, fishes are very helpful on this kind of a diet. One of the things you want to try to keep away from is going to be some of those high fat, especially high saturated fat foods. So similar to what you would find in the Mediterranean diet, where they talk about not as many sweets in that diet plan. Similar thing here. So your butters and your high-fat desserts, cakes, cookies, you know, those kinds of things. The problem is the saturated fat, we're finding not only is it bad for our heart, but it's also bad for our brain. So we want to go ahead and try to keep those to a minimum, and that's why something like having salmon is such a good choice, because there's something called omega-3 fatty acids, which are the heart-healthy fats that are found in your salmon, your tuna, and they actually help your heart, and they also help your brain. So we want to make sure we have more of those kinds of fats in our diet. So these are cooking for about 4 to 5 minutes on each side. I'm going to flip them over, and with my grill pan, you see the little grill marks on it. But if you don't have that, you don't have to. Let's flip the rest of these over. So they're nice and golden. Very carefully so they don't fall apart. You got one side that's pulled together really well. That's a little hot. All right, so like I said, 4 to 5 minutes on each side. But the way you want to know for sure is going to be your food thermometer. For any seafood, you want to cook it to 140 degrees. So as we just split these, we're going to give them a few more minutes. So we're looking for 140 degrees. We are getting close. All right, let's go ahead and check one last time, see where we're at. And we are good. So we're gonna take him off. And I like to just, because you gotta cook them in some oil, just drain them on the paper towel for a minute or two. And then you go ahead and you dress them up like you would any other burger. So get your bun, get your whole wheat bun out, get some lettuce, some tomatoes, some onions, some pickles, anything you want to do on it. And you can eat them like you would any other kind of burger. So think about the mind diet, trying to add more of those kinds of foods into your diet. Helps your heart, helps your brain. Hope you enjoyed this today. Hope to see you again soon. Take care.